Calendar year 2023, the average income from Amway for all U.S. registered IBOs at the Founders Platinum level and below was $841 before expenses. See amway.com/income-disclosure for details and the most up-to-date information. Earnings depend on many factors, including customer base, business experience, effort, dedication, and the quality and performance of the downline sales team.
All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look to your right, look to your left, look behind you. All right, look in front of you, and now look at me. Look at me. I want you to forget that any of those people are in the room. See, I just want it to be you and me. One-on-one. That's all I want to do here. I came here just to talk to you. It's no secret that Tammy and I have achieved some successes in this business that are not typical. And because of that, it seems everywhere we go, anytime we go speak, we always get asked the same question that you ask: what did you do? I understand the question. Everyone's looking for some secret. And it's an okay question. It's just the wrong question, in my opinion. The correct question should be, how did you think? You see, I know exactly what we did, and multitudes have done the same. Some with success that is also considered not typical, but many with average, minimal, or no success at all. So more importantly than knowing what we did, and I know exactly what we did, but more importantly, I know the why behind what we did. So I'm gonna invite you tonight to do this. Just sit here with me. I'm sitting, you pull up a chair, sit with me tonight, one-on-one, you and me, and allow me to simply share our experience. It's our story. What we did and how we trained ourselves to think may not benefit you with this. In fact, nothing I say may work for you. I want to be very clear with that. But it can give perspective that maybe you've never considered. But this is Tammy and my story, and it's the only one we have. So, pull up the chair. Let me tell you a story of two average kids with a dream and the power of our Amway adventure. Is that fair enough with everybody? That's what we're gonna do. Is it fair enough with you? One-on-one here. Let's get started. As I'm sure you probably know, I came from a football background, and it shaped my mentality. It was that mentality that I brought into this business model, and actually it's all I really knew. And Tammy and I entered the business because it would allow us to pursue a business of our own. That's what Amway makes available for us. And the problem is, in our case, was neither one of us had any business background or financial background or any background. That's just where we were. In fact, we had nothing that you would think would be necessary for entrepreneurship. And once we got started, we absolutely never believed that we could even reach the platinum level or the bronze level or any level. We didn't believe we could do it, is a simple way for me to put this in a simple way for you. See, it was bigger than life to us. But our upline sat down with us and shared with us what they referred to as the 9 core action steps. And you've probably already heard that verbiage from your sponsor or your upline. And they explained that these were simple steps to a simple, systematic approach to developing the successful entrepreneur. And since we were new at this entrepreneur thing, we were eager to learn these 9 steps. We needed simple, that's for sure. And it sounded like something that could be taught. Remember, I was coming from a football background which operated a systematic offensive scheme. My mentality was that maybe I could follow this approach the same way I did football. My upline was very clear, and I appreciate them doing this. So let me be very clear that these 9 steps would in no way guarantee success in Amway. In fact, these 9 core action steps are 100% optional. Fair enough? All right, I understood that. I really understood it all at a very high level, because in football, we had drills, running, weightlifting, that every player did, in season and out of season. And they were not optional. But at any rate, doing these drills, running these sprints, lifting the weights, in no way guaranteed success. Yes, it prepared us to succeed at the highest level, yet it did not guarantee even the smallest taste of success. Think about that. I had years in training rooms, weight rooms, on hot, muggy grass fields, daily workouts, ball skills, agility skills, speed drills, strength and conditioning. These workouts were not some checklist that I simply went in and marked off every day. It is where we trained and agreed. None of it guaranteed winning. But to a man, we knew that not doing all the work would guarantee that we'd get our butt kicked when game time came. So fortunately, you can relax. There's no butt kicking in this business, okay? But that's when my football mentality kicked in, and that's why I share it, because that's what it was. See, for me, I was back in the training room. So as I listened to our upline explain these 9 simple steps, the light went off in my head. Now hear me. I still did not believe at that time, I still didn't believe that we could ever go bronze, platinum. But immediately I saw that those 9 steps didn't take IQ. They didn't take talent. They didn't take any special education. In fact, we were already doing those 9 steps on some level in our everyday life. They were simply discipline-based. And that's where I had lived my entire football life. See, those 9 core action steps to me, and this is just my story, became my workout. They became my weight room. They became my field. And I attacked them just like I attacked the field in the weight room, with full understanding that the 9 steps would never guarantee me success, but I believed they would be a key component in preparing me to win. Again, it's just the way I thought. This is my story. My training in football was highly focused and purposeful, meaning that behind every drill, behind every lift, behind every pass route was a reason and a purpose. So I mentally approached these 9 core action steps focused and purposefully. I was taught in the locker room that you rise and fall at the level of your training. So that became my mindset with developing a discipline of 9 core. I was so fortunate along the way to have played on championship teams. They were built on a winning culture. It was bred in me as an athlete. So I came from a culture that taught me that greatness was a choice, that being a champion was a result of an uncommon level of focus and discipline in the pursuit of greatness. My coaches drilled in me that as a wide receiver, I could reach an elite level if I was willing to continually push myself through specifically designed repetitions, that I would push myself and embrace the mundane, that I would commit to an uncommon dedication. Now, relax. Number 1, I don't know if that was even true. They just filled my head with it. This is just the 9 simple steps. That's all this is. They take no IQ, as I said, and that was really good for me. No IQ. I had no great IQ. They took no talent. I had no special talent. I could run fast and catch a ball. What was I going to do outside of that? They took no special education. I crammed 4 years of college into 5. See, no IQ, good for me. No talent, good for me. No education, good for me. It didn't even take good looks. That's good for some of you. But at any rate, here's what I want you to understand. This mentality is the mentality I was bringing into this business. I knew nothing else. Since 8 years old, it was part of my training. So I knew no way other than that to attack this business. In other words, no way other than this mindset, this attitude, this discipline that I'd built in football. So I'm the first to admit that I didn't always enjoy all the drills. I didn't enjoy all the workouts. They were not always fun. In fact, they were very seldom fun. They were definitely not comfortable. But like I stated earlier, behind each one was a why. In other words, each drill had a purpose. And those drills were designed to develop elite players. There were treasures within each of the drills that I operated under. And so I saw the 9 core action steps as the workout to build and develop me as an entrepreneur. I didn't know, but I took them from that mindset. Now, I didn't like all the 9 steps either. I probably like 3 of the 9, maybe, if I stretch. Come on, they weren't fun for me. They may be for you, but they weren't fun for me. And they were way out of my comfort zone. So for me to embrace them, my quest was to understand the why behind each individual step. I had to know that. See, I wanted to know what it would build and what it would develop in me. I wanted to find the treasures behind each step. In other words, was the price going to be worth it? Back to the original question you asked, what did you do? Now you have a little bit of a backdrop. Again, it was never what we did, it was how we thought. It was the mindset that we applied to our Amway business. Now, take a breath. It's just you and me. I know. You probably weren't trained like this mentally. That's okay. And now you're wondering if you have a chance of building this business. Relax. I'm about to show you some key lessons. Don't worry about the workouts, the drills, and suffering under scorching August suns. The key lessons that you're going to apply are very simple. And all of that had nothing to do with you and where you're at. It was just to give you an understanding of how I thought. You know, I could have done those drills in football and never known why I was doing it. Do you realize that? It was just a drill, and to be honest with you, most players in the game play that way. But for me, I focused on the why behind every drill I did. And once I understood why we were doing a specific drill, it brought clarity to my focus. It actually wasn't just a drill. I had a specific purpose, and it was designed to develop me. Now, those mundane drills began to unleash things in me that I didn't know I had the ability to do, things I didn't even know I was capable of. They're what I call the treasures within. So let's start some of the key lessons that apply to becoming an entrepreneur. You don't have to carry that mindset with you. And like I said, you don't have to work out in the scorching sun, and you don't have to have people twice your size beat you up every day. So this is really, really good. Let's begin the quest for the treasures, though, because that's how I attacked these 9 steps. There had to be some treasures behind them. There's never just a step for no reason. Remember, I said it's not what we did, it's how we thought. You know, lesson number 1 for Tammy and myself, it was this, that success is a mindset first, then a skill set. Came from football, but that made our focus simple. Master the mindset behind the 9 steps, then the skill set will follow naturally. That's the way I thought, just like football drills. Our focus was on understanding the why behind each step, so here we go. Let's start the workout. Welcome to the weight room. Welcome to the field. Strap in your seat. Step 1, number 1, 9 of them. Number 1, verified customer sales. We know it as VCS. You see, every business sells something, a product, a service, an idea. Nothing happens in business until something moves. So here was my mindset. I heard all that and I thought, I want to be the only entrepreneur on planet Earth that never sold anything. I mean, wouldn't that be great? Actually, it isn't great, okay? There's no treasure to be found until we embrace the reality that business revolves around sales. So as for me, you would be hard-pressed to find anyone that feared sales more than I did. I was literally terrified at the idea. I learned in the workout, however, that most of my fears were simply from a lack of knowledge. Now, this is just you and me one-on-one, and this is just my perspective. And I don't know that it'll help you, but let me tell you what happened to me. I began to relax when I realized that I was simply a relationship builder. VCS was nothing more than a way for me to add value to people by helping them win. Let me explain what I meant. I've always wanted to build people, to make a difference in lives at some level. And now I had a tool that I never even knew existed. See, my VCS purpose, and again, this is just me, but for me, my VCS purpose was to help the customer solve a problem. The purpose was not to sell a product. See, selling in its purest form is nothing more than having conversations with people, building relationships, and helping them improve their life. That's it for me. Help them win. See, I could relax. I didn't have to learn how to close a sale. I simply learned how to open a relationship. I learned to sell the problem I could solve. It could be health, energy, skincare, et cetera, et cetera. Not the product we have. the problem I could solve. I always called it relational selling, and I'm not very original, so I probably heard that from someone smarter than me. And I credit whoever that is. But out of this intense sphere of selling came some of the most powerful treasures of VCS. First, let me share this one with you. See, getting in this arena, this VCS arena, developed for me, and again, just my story, but it developed in me mental toughness. And I thought that was genius. This is part of these 9 steps, mental toughness, because you see, mental toughness is usually listed by the experts as the first quality of entrepreneurship. And here they lead with it. That makes sense to me now. VCS forced me in the arena. I couldn't develop mental toughness by reading about it. I couldn't develop mental toughness by listening to a motivating speech about it. I couldn't develop mental toughness by thinking about it. No, mental toughness is forged in the arena. It's forged by taking the no's, getting knocked down and getting back up, fighting through the doubts, the disappointments, the fears. What a training ground VCS provides for us. See, mental toughness was a why behind the first step. But hang on. Secondly, VCS was my development stage for communication skills. Now, as I mentioned, selling in its purest form is nothing more than having conversations with people. Sales skills are simply communication skills. For me, that was a perfect cure for my shyness. My technique personally, because of my shyness, my fear of people, was just sampling. I don't know if that'll help you, but that's what it was for me. My mindset was sampling, not selling. I was so excited to know that I didn't have to sell. All I had to do was sample. I said, that's awesome, because I can't do that selling thing. I was afraid of it, remember? Now, this is just me, don't forget. But this is how a shy kid with no mental toughness began to learn these workout lessons. So your journey is going to be probably totally different from mine. But the lessons you'll learn may be very much the same. By sampling superior quality Amway products with a few family members and friends, I began developing the ability to communicate the problem I could solve. As my communications developed, my skills in that area developed, I could communicate the logic and benefits of the specific samples I was giving. As my communication skills grew, I became more and more effective in the marketplace. And that's where the third treasure of VCS was unlocked. And hear me, it's authenticity. Trust is at an all-time low in society today. And this is our opportunity to separate ourselves from the masses and lead with authenticity. For me, VCS is never a hard sale. VCS is a heart sale. It allows us to focus on others and actually use our product portfolio to enhance the lives of those around us. I believe that authenticity will always beat competition. Our Amway products don't need hype, exaggerated claims, nor slick advertisements. They stand on their own with some of the highest quality and integrity in the marketplace. They just need to be in the hands of authentic IBOs who put people ahead of product, who serve customers at the highest level, who are committed to improving one life at a time authentically. Listen to me. These are the lessons that separate us from the masses. This is why we are so special. And to think, I just thought VCS was there to validate our business. And it does that. I just thought VCS was there to create profit early for the newest IBO. And it does that. I just thought VCS was there to set the example for your team to follow. And it sets a great example. But we all know about these. What the masses miss, however, are the treasures within. Who would ever thought that VCS would instill in me mental toughness, communication skills, and create in me authenticity that would be the anchor to long-term VCS success? So now you see that there is way more to VCS than just selling a product. Now you know the why behind the first of 9 core steps. Number 2, personal use. This lesson is important. It is fundamental to success in any arena. Personal use, hear me, is our integrity space. Did you get that? Personal use is our integrity space. Personal use is the arena that allows us to walk out integrity in the marketplace. Now hear me, I want you to get this. And again, it's just my personal perspective, but I personally don't think an IBO with integrity can promote and try to sell a product that they've not personally used. Again, it's just my perspective. But it's hard to be authentic if we aren't walking in integrity. See, personal use is the space that allows you as the entrepreneur to actually have hands-on experience with the products you market. Your conviction and belief come from your personal experience. Now, agreed, I have not personally used our women's skincare line, nor have I personally used our ag products on my lawn. However, I can still maintain integrity with these items by giving them as sample to some people that I've trusted and use their honest reviews with potential customers. I can also use Amway's resources, their video presentations, the things they've made available to us to add credibility. But and this is me, I can't personally walk around the gym talking about fitness products that aren't part of my own regimen. The personal use space leaves no room for excuses when it comes to integrity. Integrity, in my opinion, has to be a standard for any entrepreneur. A great treasure for everyone, but that's not the only treasure. Personal use began to develop confidence in me as an IBO. See, by using our own products, we learned firsthand the quality of the products that made up our business. We truly believed, Tammy and I truly believed that we had the best of the best. And being the best breeds confidence. We actually took time to study the product information Amway provided. For instance, we learned about the Nutrilite farms, the topsoil, the worms. Now I got you thinking, don't I? See? Acerola cherries, the science, the research. It built levels of confidence in the Amway Corporation and their commitment to the products. And then thirdly, personal use created in us awareness. Now let me explain this. Because of my personal use and the confidence I was developing in our products, I was now also becoming keenly aware of those around me and how I could fill a need. I would hear people say things like, they were tired in the afternoon, or they were talking maybe about the protein of choice, their protein of choice, or maybe I saw them drinking an energy drink. But because now of my awareness, I was able to share or even sample something that would be a benefit to them. This awareness made me very effective in the marketplace. This is where our VCS began to move outside our family and friends. I was now aware of the potential that we had ahead of us. It moved our business to a new level. See, customers became plentiful and simple to help. Integrity, confidence, awareness. Now you know the why behind the second step. Now, the next 3 core steps are habits. Number 3, 4, and 5. Number 3, networking habit. This was the single toughest habit for me to develop. I'm still far from being an expert, but the lessons I've learned from this one step have been invaluable in life. No sugarcoating here, okay? That's never been my style, so let me say this and make sure it's clearly understood. This business takes work, a lot of work. It is not easy. If anyone tells you that it doesn't take work, well, let me just be nice. They've obviously never been an entrepreneur. I'll put it like that. No success in any arena comes without effort, without work. So let me walk you through my journey developing a networking habit. Here's how I started. First, it was by reconnecting. In other words, Tammy and I made a list, and we had a big list of people that we knew. But most people we had not seen in quite a while, maybe since school. And so we didn't have a connection really at that time. Well, I'm gonna help you. There's only 2 words you need for successful reconnection. Now you're gonna wanna write these down because I know 2 words are hard sometimes for people to understand. But here's what those 2 words are. What's new? When you learn those 2 words, you can now successfully reconnect with anyone you've known in the past. Hey, I saw you online the other day and I just thought I haven't talked to you in several years and I wanted just to reach out and check with you and say, what's new? These people that make up your social media or your former teammates or classmates or work colleagues, clubs, church, sports leagues, the list goes on and on. This is literally the list that I had the most credibility with. And so these are the lists that we began with. Now, there's no real treasures hidden in, number one, reconnecting. But that was all about to change in my life. Because number two was meeting people I did not know. You have no idea how shy I was. You have no idea how fearful I was. In fact, it actually made no sense to me. Logically, fear in anything really doesn't make a lot of sense. I was so afraid of shaking a hand or saying hello to someone. And yet, in football, not only as a receiver, but I was also a return specialist. Now, nobody in their right mind says I volunteer to return kicks, because that's where they put everybody that's really on the edge of sickos. They just put them on that team. And they say, now whoever gets the ball, go get them. So we're scrimmaging this little team, and I step back to get this kick. And I look, and I asked the official, I said, hey, what's that dude got in his hands? He said, don't worry about it, son, it's just his arms. I thought, oh boy, this is not gonna be good. They kicked, I caught it, looked up and took one step, and one guy grabbed one leg, one the other. I heard him say, make a wish, and I knew it was gonna be a bad day. The last thing I saw was the white of a guy's eyes. He weighed about 250 pounds, and he never even slowed down. He just ran right over me. I rolled over a little bit, making sure everything was in place, and I stood up. I noticed I could only see out of one eye. I thought, well, he knocked my eye out, but I think everything else is okay. I staggered to the sideline. I said, Coach, I think he's knocked my eye out. And Coach grabbed my face mask and turned my helmet back around. He said, no, son, you're just looking out your ear hole. Now, I would stand and do something that stupid, but be afraid to shake your hand. It makes no sense. I would do that with energy and excitement. Is that not crazy? And I said, I got to change my mind. I got to go meet you with energy and excitement. But ask me to say hello or shake a hand with a total stranger. Listen, it literally made me nauseated. It made my body visibly shake. That's the level it was at. Remember when I said I don't like all the workouts I had to do in football? Well, this is the number one workout in these 9 steps that I literally hated. I hated it. It reminded me of the first week of 3-a-day summer workouts. I mean, back in my day, we had 3-a-days. You had practice 3 times a day. Then they all got soft, and now they only do 2 a day. But at any rate, back in my time, we did 3, and we're proud of it. But at any rate, it was going through that in the summer, but you got to admit, it's only 150 degrees. And then at that time, too, you couldn't drink water because you were a sissy if you drank water. So anyway, it was crazy. So it's where I learned about the Phantom, because my roommate, the Phantom would come at night. I've never seen the Phantom. I've never met the Phantom. But the Phantom would come at night, and he would steal players. They would leave. They would be gone. The Phantom would get them. And we'd wake up the next morning, and so-and-so's gone. Where do you go? I don't know. The Phantom got him. I think one day we'll see like space will open up, and they'll all be there. There they are. The Phantom took them here. I don't know where they go. But my roommate, I had loaned him 50 cents for the machine, to get a drink out of the machine. And so we went to bed that night, and when I woke up the next morning for practice, they'd blow a horn. And when the horn went off, I looked, he's gone, but there was 50 cents in the middle of his bed. Paid me 50. I've never seen him since. The Phantom got him. So I learned about the Phantom, and now I was determining that, okay, I hate this, but there's no way I'm gonna let the Phantom come in the middle of the night and get me. Where will Tammy think I went? Because I don't know where the Phantom will take me. So, and let me explain something. Here's what got my roommate. It wasn't the work. He knew to play at that level, it would take work. What he wasn't prepared for was the grind. See, the veteran players knew that the grind was more mental than physical. We had learned to win the battle for our minds first, then we would win the battle in practice. And as you probably guessed, this is the mentality that I took into this third core step. My mindset was that I had to embrace the grind in order to win in the future. Again, just the way I was trained to think. So what would you say a key treasure in the why behind developing a networking habit was for me? Correct, the lesson of the grind. But let me take you back to the beginning of step number 3. You see, there was another eye-opening lesson that I learned. The networking habit forced me out of my comfort zone. Comfort zones are dangerous. They can be the graveyard for many entrepreneurs. Being a business owner was new for Tammy and me. It stretched us, it made us uncomfortable, and we were quick to realize that a comfort zone can feel great, but nothing great ever came from comfort zones. This was the first time I truly realized how much control my comfort zones had on me. This arena forced me into that. So we decided to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I began to intentionally put myself in uncomfortable settings. This is where I began to see what I was made of. You see, moving out of my comfort zone forced me to develop courage. The third great lesson in this workout is courage. People often ask how I overcame that intense fear I had of meeting people. Where did I get the courage? Actually, I don't know that I ever overcame the fear. I just felt the fear and went anyway, and I think that's how I define courage. See, every night I would think of something that I feared and make that my goal for the next day. Do one thing every day that I feared. I literally attacked fear. And for me personally, I thought as long as I was uncomfortable, I was growing. I was winning. Instead of allowing fear to shut us down, this treasure taught us to allow fear to wake us up. The third step, though, in networking habit, and I thought it was all about developing a team, but I learned it was much more. It was about developing this shy, fearful, comfortable kid. Hidden within this step were 3 of our most valuable treasures. I embraced the grit. I moved out of the comfort zone. And then that number 3, so important for me, I faced courage. I had courage in the face of fear. And number 3 began to mold me. Those 3 are priceless. Number 4. Number 4 is a listening habit. Remember, we got 3 habits here. This is the second habit, listening habit. Now, I need to apologize up front for my mindset on this core step. So, I apologize. It was not the best, but let me explain it first. I apologize. I blame it on the competitor in me. They built this in me, okay? But my upline suggested that we develop a habit of listening to one audio, or today maybe one video from the LTD leadership every day. That would help in training and developing our knowledge base for building the business. He explained it to us. And I know this is terrible, and I should never think like this, blame it on the background, but when he said one audio a day, my immediate reaction was, that's what the weak ones will do. Isn't that terrible? I'm telling you, but it's all I knew. It's the only way I knew to compete. I would do pass catching drills, gang, every day after practice. And you don't understand. Some of you have heard me say that, but all my teammates were getting showers and going to dinner. My receiver coach would stay with me and throw. And I had to catch 100 balls in a row. And so I would get to 92, 93, and I'd drop one on purpose, so I'd have to start all over again. It made him so angry. You dropped that on purpose. I said, no, sir, I just dropped it. We got to start again. See, I had no understanding of minimum mentality. I had none of it. I didn't comprehend that. I would listen to what everyone else was doing and then make sure I did at least one more. I wasn't competing with anybody. Now, the competitor was in me, but I wasn't competing with anyone. I was competing with me. I had to know what my best was. And it may not be as good as your best. It probably isn't, but it was my best. So here I am hearing about one audio a day with this mentality. When we got home, I told Tammy, we will do a minimum of 3 audios every day. But it got worse. Oh, it did, it got worse. See, those were cassettes right then at that time, and they just introduced a cassette recorder that did auto rewind. Oh, when I found that, we went to bed every night with auto rewind. It would play the audio. See, now I can just put things in my ears and it plays all 8 hours of them. You know what I'm saying? No, ours would rewind and rewind and rewind. And you say, you were asleep, stupid. I said, I know. But see, your subconscious never sleeps. And so what was happening, it was putting it in. I know I was crazy. Relax, relax, relax. You don't have to do any of this stuff. This was just my mindset. But you ask what we did, and it's the only story I've got. That's what we did. So if this listening habit was going to equip me with training and knowledge from the leadership, I was absolutely going to overdose on it. Just my thinking. Guess what? Yes, it did equip me at a very high level. But wait, it did much more than just provide training and knowledge. Now understand, that activity, as extreme as it may sound sometimes, it wasn't really that great of an effort. Think about this. How many hours a day do you listen to music, podcasts, news, sports? A lot. So did I. So hear this. I just changed what I listened to. See how simple that really was? It wasn't monumental. I just changed what I listened to. That's pretty simple. But I didn't realize the impact that amount of content would make. So the first treasure that came from my competitive mindset was that it kept my mind on the business. That was the first treasure. See, I didn't understand how important that was, but listen to me, that eliminated distractions. Now, this was huge for us. Rather than texting, browsing the web, email, social media, the listening habit creates a focus. Our mind was saturated with the business. It made focusing simple, and it became a distraction blocker. Let me give you a personal observation. I was very fortunate to play on championship teams. And every championship team I was a part of had the least amount of distractions. So I've always viewed distractions as something that would keep me from winning, because the teams I played on that had distractions didn't win. So this listening habit was my safety net. The audios challenged me to focus on the work at hand. See, I couldn't control the results, but I developed a listening habit that helped me control the focus. I was in rookie camp, and I was in the weight room, and it was just myself and a future Hall of Famer that was rehabbing his shoulders. Everybody knew that when he retired, he would be a Hall of Famer. And I asked him what the biggest difference between a Hall of Fame player and just an average player were. And his answer was not what I expected, but one I've never forgotten. He looked at me and he said this, "Rookie, everyone here has talent. They're the best in the world. The Hall of Famer isn't more talented. They just have the ability to stay focused on their game for a longer period of time." Wow, that was this business for me. A treasure from the listening habit. It allowed me to stay focused for a longer period of time. Now, the second treasure was this. Tammy and I were employees, okay? We had no experience in entrepreneurship. And we quickly learned that entrepreneurs think very, very different from employees. Really. In fact, sometimes it was odd. The two mindsets were totally opposite a lot of the times. So the audios taught us how to do what? Think like entrepreneurs. It was like taking a class every day in business owner mentality. What a treasure. Where was I going to get that education? Here we were trying to be entrepreneurs with no idea what that looked like. But it was hour after hour, audio after audio, learning a different mindset. Now, this is just our personal story, but I don't know how we could have learned that any other way. Our listening habit created a distinct focus and critical mindset. It was invaluable for us. But there was another treasure that, again, I did not expect. Our listening habit made us effective in building depth in our business. Now, make sure you hear this. I don't want you to misunderstand me. As we began to build teams, we realized that we couldn't be everywhere and teach everyone all the time. That is the purpose the audios, the videos, etc. They allowed us to teach on a mass scale. In other words, I didn't have to be there. They could do the teaching for me. Now we were working with teams in depth, and because I had such a knowledge base from my overdose listening habit, I knew exactly what they needed to hear. I could maximize my time by getting proper training specific to each team. See, I was extremely effective now in the areas that I couldn't be in all the time. As an apprentice, you have the ability to gift audios, just like I was doing. I was able to direct what the depth in my team was learning and how they could apply it. Now, I'll admit that I was obsessed with listening, but I was not in competition with anyone in the business. I was in competition with the man in the mirror, and I wanted to set a high example. It's just that football training again, always chasing excellence. But it led to some very valuable treasures. Think about it. Focus. It eliminated those distractions. An entrepreneurial mentality, which I would have never been able to develop. And effectiveness in depth, because I had a skill set of knowing what I had in my hands. Lesson number 5. Reading habit. Our upline suggested that we begin a reading habit of 30 minutes a day. And you already know what I thought. Isn't that terrible? That's what the weak ones will do. I apologize. I apologize. That is so wrong. And it wasn't accurate. Remember, all of these steps are totally optional. And when you think about it, today so many people don't read at all. They just listen to an audiobook. Anyway, my attitude was wrong, but I want to be real with you. Statista, the global data and intelligence platform with insights on more than 80,000 topics, reported that the average daily time spent on social media was 151 minutes per day. That's 2 hours and 31 minutes. Just think if someone took half of that time and read or listened to a book instead. It would blow your mind how many books you could go through in a year. So I just simply changed what I was reading. Nothing magic, nothing impressive. But the treasure that came from this habit still impacts our business today. And the first treasure we noticed from our reading habit was that it made us much more effective in personal width. Again, you've got to hear me on this. Registering new IBOs. And I have to be very careful saying this. Number one, it is not a guarantee. It may not even apply to your situation. But please hear me out and listen to me. I don't want to be misunderstood here. I was shy, fearful, no confidence, full of doubt, no people skills. The books began to cut me open and expose me to me. Now, here's what I mean when I say that. The reading began to empower me to understand and relate to people at a level that I'd never experienced before. As I got better at dealing with people, as my confidence grew and my attitude changed, I obviously became better at putting people in the business. I became better at building long-term customers. So when I say my sponsoring ratio was in direct proportion to my reading ratio, that was my experience. That's what I mean by saying that. It is not a hack to sponsoring. It's not a secret to building with. I mean, listen, you can read a book every day and still not build a business. But for me, the reading deeply changed how I thought, how I treated and connected with people, and developed a positive mindset for me. Those attributes began to show up in the sponsoring aspect of our business. And the more I read, the more confident I was in the marketplace. Now, that's just my experience. But if you leave this table thinking all you have to do is go read a bunch of books and you'll somehow become a sponsoring machine, then you did not hear one thing that I just said. Now, I don't think it would hurt anyone to read a little more, but it's not a secret or a guarantee. I do think it's immensely important, but it's not a guarantee, nor is it a requirement for building a successful Amway business. It's just my story. And I know when I share it, I risk being misunderstood right here. So I hope I made that clear, because it was an incredible treasure in my life and business personally. It's called a reading habit, which means it's a planned event. No one will accidentally read tonight. No one will look around and say, how in the world did I do that? Nope, it takes effort. So it taught me discipline. In fact, it was the first discipline I developed in our business. And this is important to distinguish. They call discipline the fuel of achievement, not reading. Reading was simply the action that birthed this discipline in my business. And for me, it's a discipline that I still operate in today. Out of the reading and the discipline came another treasure that's had some of the most impact on me personally. It's created in me this, a lifelong personal growth program. I never knew reading was going to develop that in me. And I know this sounds weird, but I became consumed with personal growth. I truly wanted to know what I was capable of. I still don't know that because I'm not through growing, but it's been a lifetime adventure. And maybe it came from the way I read. I don't know. I actually studied a book. It got inside me. See, I would begin each book with chapter 1, and I would highlight that chapter. And then the next night, I would read all the highlights in chapter 1, and I'd read chapter 2. And then the next night, I'd read all the highlights in 1 and 2 in chapter 3. And then down the road, I would read like all the highlights in chapter 5, 6, and 7, and chapter 8. You know what I'm saying? It just moved along. So I read the book 3, 4 times every time I read it. Now, obviously, that is not for everyone. I'm not telling you how to read. And it may not have anything, well, it doesn't have anything to do with Amway. But it was a treasure that I cherished, and it came from developing a simple reading habit. Now, let me give you a quick disclaimer. I do not believe you can read yourself to success. In any endeavor, it takes work, lots of work, and especially in this business. Reading did not create our success. Reading just made me better at the work I was putting in. The more I worked, for me, the more I needed to read, and that's just my story. Those are the 3 habits. Number 6, association. Now, you're going to be hard-pressed to find many in this business that appreciate the association that we've experienced over these years more than Tammy and myself. We truly are products of our association. We placed a very high value on every opportunity made available to us to associate with our upline, downline, and crossline friends. From our weekly meetings to training sessions to leadership events, and especially the 4 major conferences, we simply never missed an event. Now understand, these events are not required. They are not guarantees for success, but for us, they truly were instrumental in preparing us as entrepreneurs. We are so excited that Tammy and I talk about this, our excitement that all of these events are completely complementary to our apprentice participants. And we feel this is very important for any IBO development. And our hope is that you discover the treasures that made such an impact in our journey. To begin with, in a simple word, let's start learning of some treasures. Environment. Environment. Let me explain. This association put us in an environment where we were surrounded by good people that truly wanted us to win. It was an environment filled with positive people that were genuine, that worked hard, that played hard. They were encouragers that always lifted us higher. People we could learn from, never criticizing, complaining, or condemning. This environment provided a safe haven for us to grow at our own pace, never pressuring, but always setting an example. Now, this environment is not perfect. It's built with people from every background with no restrictions. And people are far from perfect. But the amount of attention given by the leadership to try to ensure that this was an environment conducive to growth was like none other we had ever experienced. So our personal experience has been a treasure. I mean, we didn't have access to anything close to this environment. And I truly believe that this environment brought out the best in us. We found that surrounding ourselves with an environment of like-minded people allowed us to develop habits that we may have never seen in action. Now, let me repeat, it's not perfect, but this has been our experience, and this is why LTD is so committed to making sure you had complimentary access so that you can decide for yourself if this truly is a special environment. Secondly, we found another very significant treasure in this association that we can absolutely credit a lot of this with growing us as entrepreneurs. And that treasure was belief. I believe you can measure your chances for success in any endeavor in life, not just this business, any endeavor. Anything you choose to pursue by your level of belief. Tammy and I have a deep conviction that in our life, whatever success we've had is a result of belief. Now again, that's just us. It may not be your experience, but for us, this association was the seedbed for our belief. Every week, every month, every quarter, we were in an environment where we heard story after story of overcoming, persevering, failing forward, focusing, winning against all odds. The list goes on and on. But it was these stories from every age, race, religion, socioeconomic background, and profession imaginable. These built layers of belief in our hearts and minds. Remember, we did not believe that we could ever accomplish bronze or platinum, but week after week, story after story, example after example, these stories and examples were a shot of belief for this fragile couple holding on by a thin thread. These built a solid belief muscle for us. Tammy and I are convinced that our journey as entrepreneurs, that in this journey, belief is one of the biggest key ingredients we've ever learned. And we found this vital treasure from our life in this association. Now, the third treasure of association, it provided us with something that was also very, very vital. Challenge. Challenge. Yeah, every spring and summer in college, I would work camps. I would work camps where I would associate with some of the best receivers in both college and professional football. And these environments built my belief that I could play at a higher level. I could work at a higher level. I could continue to get better at my skill set. In other words, being in that environment challenged me. It showed me what I was capable of. I took that experience and I put it in this arena. This association showed Tammy and me what we were capable of. It challenged us, it stretched us, and we found that one of the true values of the business was found in the challenge. So for us, if there was no challenge, then there was no sustaining value. It challenged us to be an example. Now relax. Nowhere in this business does it require you to be an example. And let me add, there's a huge difference between being challenged and being pressured. This association is pressure-free. The challenge was our own personal quest. But we wanted to take the belief, we were developing and then pass it on to others. We got excited about challenging ourselves. Again, every week we saw examples that challenged us to expand ourselves. We needed that. We really did. It was our lack of belief that made us afraid of taking on challenges. It was this association that placed us in this environment that helped develop our belief so that we could chase the challenge, so that we could discover things about ourselves that we never knew. You see, in the weight room, I developed physical muscles. In this association, I developed challenge muscles. I believe that we're at our best when we're challenged. These are three immeasurable treasures that we cherish to this day. This environment, our belief, and the challenge. Number 7, you okay? Take a breath. Number 7, communication. As an apprentice, you have complimentary access to the LTD messaging platform. And to say that is one of the most valuable pieces to the apprentice package would be a great understatement. It is incredibly valuable. It's not simply a texting, voicemail, or chat tool. It's a treasure. First, this communication tool is connection. Connection, what a treasure. Connection is so important for a team. You know, my head football coach continually reminded us that the business of winning is human connection. I believe that can apply to this business as well as the football field. In our case, it was our lifeline. This communication tool gives you total connection with your entire upline and downline if you choose to build teams. But it gives you unlimited access to your upline's expertise, their years of experience, their knowledge base, and their personalized coaching can help you set effective goals and the game plan to achieve them. You know, professional athletes pay enormous sums to access personal trainers. Did you know that many entrepreneurs pay thousands of dollars monthly for just 2 sessions with a personal trainer in their field of expertise? For me, this communication platform was my personal trainer. And for you in the apprentice program, it's complementary. This connecting was crucial in our personal business development. It began to unlock for us potential. It began to maximize our growth. And then the second treasure in communication came right behind it, relationships. There was the connecting. Now there were relationships. Now relationships are hard. Relationships are complex, but a healthy, positive, and productive upline relationship is priceless. I personally believe that a good business is built with good relationships. Let me encourage you to start early with taking time to nurture and sincerely appreciate the relationships in this business. They can truly make a difference. Strong relationships are no accident. The beginning point for healthy relationships is communication. So I've always recommended daily communication with an upline, especially during the startup phase of your apprenticeship. It's like a daily checklist. It's where you can ask questions, you can give observations, perspectives that you've gained. Next steps, what do I do? Make it a point to develop relationships with everyone in your upline. The messaging platform gives you that ability. There is no limit on healthy relationships. And always remember, your upline isn't perfect. They will make mistakes, but so will you. Here's a simple observation I've learned over the year. The secret to best relationships is found in the absence of judgment of each other. It's just a personal thought, no charge for that one. What makes relationships in this business unique is that we're all pulling for each other to win, and that's unique. See, at the core of this business, whether building customers or building teams, it's about personal relationships. So communicate often. From my experience, it's the best way to build strong relationships. And I believe they'll become one of the most treasured treasures in this journey. Now, the third treasure that I found in this communication platform was motivation. On a regular basis, I had access to success stories from a new VCS sale or video tips on the benefits and features of specific products, on stories from new bronze qualifiers, testimonies, examples, exciting updates, new product releases. They filled each week and provided a mountain of motivation as we navigated this entrepreneurial experience. This motivation served as an encouragement to continue the journey. It was tangible proof from upline, downline, and crossline friends that we were in the right place and the right business model. Communication treasures, connection, relationships, and motivation. A powerful combination. Number 8, counsel. You may hear some say mentoring or coaching. I actually like to call it perspective. See, that was the first treasure that I gained from this step. Everyone needs someone they can learn from, share ideas with, and celebrate with. Listen to me. Your upline is not there to tell you what to do. They are not a boss, nor do they want to be. And when I speak of upline in this phase, I mean your upline that is at least the platinum level. Counsel is simply perspective. It is not permission. Perspective from their business experiences on things that may help you. Perspective from their business experience to help you avoid some mistakes. Maybe perspective from their business experience to help you be more productive or to give clarity to situations that are going to obviously arise during your journey. There's wisdom that comes from experience. I never wanted to take that for granted. Sadly, too many people today take counsel from someone that has never done what they're attempting to do. And that makes no sense to me. I'm so appreciative of a business where there's no competition between upline and downline, no one holding back some secret to growth, no one intentionally giving misguided advice. My security in getting perspective from upline was in knowing that they had my best interest at heart. And that led to my second treasure, gratefulness. My upline took time away from their family, their business, to pour into me. They never charged me. They never judged me. They never harmed my business. They simply served me at a level I had never seen before. And that's the spirit of this team. Upline counsel or upline perspective is totally optional though. And I'll tell you this, you will have to initiate it. They won't come down and force it on you. It will in no way guarantee success. However, it's always been a benefit in preparing and developing me as an entrepreneur along the way. Now, I can't express enough my gratitude for the hours and hours that an upline has poured into Tammy and myself. It was in these hours where Upline worked with us designing simple game plans based on our goals. Their wisdom gave us the knowledge and tools to grow our business at every level. And I believe that gratitude reveals the attitude of your heart. I believe that attitude helps you grow in all areas of life. I believe gratitude is the gate to humility. We're the product of this coaching. We never take credit for anything we've ever accomplished in this business because we're simply grateful students. We took the perspective from those that had gone before us, and then we worked really, really hard. It was this treasure of gratitude that so profoundly impacted our business. This attitude of gratitude is such a needed treasure in our world today. And that's why it's so special to me to see it here. It's right here in the midst of these 9 core steps. What an amazing value. Then gratitude led me to a third treasure, which I had never heard of. It's called the power of agreement. As I stated, Upline counsel is not designed to tell you what to do. It's simply perspective. But here's why it's so significant. We were in complete sync with our upline when it came to our business goals, our business plans. The goals were ours. Yes, we needed a game plan to help make them a reality. But we learned that more importantly, we needed someone to stand with us, agreeing that we could reach those goals. We needed that encouraging voice from someone we respected, that believed in us and lifted us up. We needed that upline we trusted who could see in us talents and abilities that we were blinded to. We found that to be a real hidden treasure. Now remember my background. That's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. With coaches that poured in me and pulled out of me things I never knew were there. See, there truly is power in somebody believing in you. There's power when maybe those closest to you are full of doubt, but somebody believes in you. So I personally had to be honest with you, I totally missed what was meant by counsel. I'd never been exposed to this mindset. And because of that, in the beginning of our business, we didn't place a value on this step. Today, this step is the one we point to as the most treasured. Perspective, gratitude, and agreement. Powerful. And lastly, number 9, accountability. In my opinion, you can be consistent in all 8 of the steps we've discussed. But if you miss this one, my opinion, I believe you missed it all. Let me insert a valuable character trait that comes from accountability. It's transparency. You'll see this trait personified from these treasures within. So accountability is built on what I emphatically believe is the single most important characteristic to leadership, that being trustworthiness. What a treasure. Now, once again, relax. You may have no desire to lead in any way. That is certainly not a requirement for success in this arena. However, I believe that trustworthiness is the number 1 essential for being an entrepreneur. Why? Because our businesses are only as viable as our word. Our word is our bond is our word. If people cannot trust us, they will not do business with us. It's that simple. Being accountable to my upline, my downline, and my crossline meant that they could trust me. They could trust what I would say. For example, that I would not give a false product claims, I would not exaggerate income claims. They could trust that my actions would be integrity-based, meaning that my purpose would always be people first. They could trust me with their customers or their team. I would never spread negative or gossip or anything that would harm their businesses. I want to be trustworthy to the audience hearing this training. See, being accountable meant that customers could trust me to deliver on my word, to be totally transparent in my dealings with them, to never mislead them with unsubstantiated claims or promises. It's trust that inspires customer loyalty. You see, the cornerstone of entrepreneurship is trustworthiness. Amway has built a trustworthy company with trusted leadership and trusted products for over 60 years. LTD has built a trustworthy, integrity-based education system with trustworthy leadership committed to upholding the highest quality assurance standards. Now, neither are perfect, but both are committed at the highest level to maintain trustworthiness as a core principle. The business operations that go around the globe are founded on this trustworthiness. Both are defined in the marketplace by how much people can trust them. If trustworthiness is not in our character, we can never transfer it to our customers and teams. Trustworthiness is the foundational principle that holds all these relationships together. Trustworthiness is a business card. Simply put, trustworthiness is essential. And it's developed and maintained by consistent small actions over a long period of time. It's also my opinion, the single most important treasure that I took from accountability was this one vital treasure, trustworthiness. You know, so many hear the word accountability and they think it means some sort of legalistic rules or some unrealistic requirements or some boss type monitoring your every move or some military chain of command. Hopefully you begin to understand that that in no way is what we mean by accountability. It begins with trustworthiness, which leads to the second treasure, which is respect. So you can't respect someone that you can't trust. Trust builds respect. Accountability was the arena to earn respect from those I respected. And hear me, respect is earned. It cannot be bought, it cannot be given. You're gonna earn it in the arena. For many, respect is not something they desire, and that's okay. Again, it's not a requirement. You can reach any level of this business you choose in this business and never be respected. But for me, I came from a game where earning respect from both your teammates and your opponents was held in esteem. Every day I stepped on the field, I wanted to leave with earning a little more respect. Again, from those that I respected. So blame it on the game, but it's important to me. I was so excited about a model that allowed me to earn respect. Accountability was one of the doorways, and respect was a treasure I found behind that door. The third treasure I found behind that accountability door was credibility. Credibility. Again, credibility goes back to trustworthiness, right? Just as there's no trust without respect, there's no trust without credibility. Being held to a standard of accountability began to shape credibility in my life. Accountability to my upline meant that for me, I got action-oriented. I was accountable to daily goals that created in me an action habit. Being accountable meant that I had to give up my comfort zones, give up my fears and doubts, give up my negative attitude, give up my distractions. Now relax. You don't have to get up or give up anything. That doesn't guarantee success. It just means you're being accountable. I embraced the values of properly balanced accountability. The real treasure for me was what I earned through accountability. Trustworthiness, respect, credibility, which results in what? Transparency. And transparency is a leader's currency. So, my friend, there you are. 9 core steps. But now you understand that those 9 steps are not just a checkbox routine. There's power found in the treasures within. 9 core steps that we credit for developing the entrepreneur within us. Remember how we began this session together? I said that lesson 1 was how Tammy and I learned to think. Well, lesson 2 of the 9 core is this: consistency. These steps are framed a business consistency that's guided our business ever since. Every day, every week, every month, we live in this training room. For us, this consistency became that link between our goals and our accomplishments. Consistency is not easy. Hear this. Consistency is simply a decision. It's a decision. That's all it is. Consistency enabled us to follow through on those decisions we made. So I'm gonna leave you with a challenge. Here's my challenge. For 24 months, discipline yourself to consistently do these 9 core steps. 24 months, every day, every week, every month. Begin with 1 day at a time. You won't do them good at first, but stay the course. Let consistency rule. Then, in 24 months, I'd love to sit down again and hear the treasures within that you discovered on your journey, because I truly believe it will be one of the greatest journeys you have ever been on. And that is my challenge. Thank you, guys.